extreme toys or RFID toys. And so I did some projects. I made a keyboard you could log into the computer with. You can see it's Windows XP. It's, again, 2005. So I was able to log in with just wave my hand over the keyboard. Fire safe, you can take apart a digital safe and add RFID authentication to it. So able to access the safe with my implant. And then this is me accessing my car. I can just get into my trusty Volkswagen. And after that, things kind of cooled off. There wasn't much activity going on. The media hype died down. But then something happened. 2008 or 9, the maker revolution happened, and people started building things again. They started making electronics and going in their garage and experimenting. And this resulted in quite a large number of people getting interested in an implanted RFID tag. So I started answering emails after email after email, and eventually it got away from me. It just couldn't answer them all, and then people were finding their own solutions online, or just like making assumptions and buying or sourcing just unsafe devices and then just putting them in their body any old way. So this is a little section of the bad part of biohacking back in 2009-ish. So people were willingly going about home surgery, and this is an example, a bad example of somebody doing that in a really unguided, stupid way. And so I decided that it's probably, oh, and this is a transponder example. It's inside of a key, and most keys have these transponders inside them. It's a Texas Instrument chip and all of this, but it's not safe for implantation, but people were just taking it out and sticking it in their bodies. So bad things. So I decided to start a company, Dangerous Things, with the goal of first supplying safe material, so we know that the devices we're selling are safe, they're biosafe, and then we ended up with what's called the X series implantable transponders. These things were cytotoxicity tested, so we went through the whole gamut of testing. We did crush tests on them. We wanted to see how much pressure it would take to break this glass tag, because people are not pets, and we do things with our hands. So we were able to crush it completely, and the tag was resilient. Then we said, okay, we're going to put it in a piece of chicken. We're going to do this crush test in like a human analog. So we crushed it and destroyed the chicken, but the tag was okay, it was unharmed. And we realized that after maxing out the machine, the human body and tissues in general will move and ply around, and the glass is more rigid than the tissue. So while it's outside of the body, it's very brittle, but inside a tissue, it's resilient. So we also threw it into a vacuum chamber that's more vacuum than the vacuum of outer space, and it survived just fine. We also threw it in a dewar of liquid nitrogen just for fun and took it out and tested it. It was great. The other thing about Dangerous Things is we partner, because if you buy something that's safe, but you're still doing it yourself, that's a bad idea. So we partner with professional body piercers. We had talked to doctors, medical doctors, but most medical doctors are interested in restorative medicine to bring you to normal, and this is considered elective or augmentative. So they weren't really interested, and as the doctors that did participate, they didn't really read our instructions, and they kind of did it badly. But professional piercers are great because they understand needle work, they understand skin, aseptic procedure, and they're professionals and they're licensed. So out of that, we built a partner network, and it's still growing today. So these are partners in and around Germany and the EU, and it's growing every day, places where our customers can go to get it installed safely. Another thing happened. NFC came on the scene and became ubiquitous in smartphones. So we actually ended up, we couldn't source an NFC compliant tag, so we ended up manufacturing one. And we did that through Indiegogo. We crowdfunded the manufacturing, and we raised 4 times the goal, which was a surprise to me. I didn't think that there was that much interest, but apparently there was. So it was really great to see that response and people's interest in the technology. This is the XNT here. It's the same type of glass tube in an injector. It's sterilized in EO gas, and it's good to go. So today, this is a map of sales. So we sell a lot in Australia and the US, a lot into Brazil, and throughout the EU and Russia. So it's quite a global phenomenon. It's not just localized. So we also sell through our partner DIGIWELL. So this is in Germany here. DIGIWELL is the only authorized partner to sell these products in the EU. And they have great guides and how to actually use it. It's in German, so if you speak German, that's a good thing. They have interesting how-to guides and all kinds of stuff. So it's definitely good to partner with people who speak other languages than English, because that seems to be a problem. The other thing is interesting is the declaration of conformity. So we actually had to go through, DIGIWELL went through a process with the government of Germany to actually get them approved and prove their safety. And so they're the only people that were actually authorized to sell any kind of implant like this. So with the popularity, we started to get some celebrities. This is Peter Diamond. He's kind of a big deal in some circles. And so he's getting it done on stage as he's talking. And with the popularity growth, there started to be other applications built about this kind of thing. So Bitcoin is another application that people have been exploring about putting on the implant. So this is a project by a customer of ours, Patrick. It's his BioPay project. So he's reading his implant and it's authorizing a Bitcoin payment. And there you go. He's been able to make a payment with his implant. There are also other people building hardware around this platform. This is an example of a payment terminal that also reads NFC tags. And it's an example of reading a Bitcoin wallet balance. So he's made a payment, displays the balance. This is another customer of ours that worked with Scandinavian Airlines. He was able actually to work with them to put his boarding pass information onto his implant, and then he would go to the airport and get out of the VIP section there. And without any paperwork at all, he just presents his tag, and he's allowed to board. So another aspect of kind of gaining popularity is companies like Kaspersky put on a whole event where they had a piercer come in and do installations of this thing. And it's interesting because Kaspersky is involved in security. And that's one of the key kind of critical components of this technology is what is the security? People want to know they're not giving up privacy and they don't have any security issues. The problem is that security, and particularly cryptography, needs electricity, it needs power. So computing components inside the chip require a lot of energy. And the way that works is these devices are passive, meaning they just have a chip and an inductive coil. They don't have a battery, and what happens is you present that tag to a reader, and it pulls power from a magnetic field that's generated by the reader. The shape and size of that antenna in the tag is how much energy is going to be transferred. So if you look on the right there, that's a typical glass tube type antenna, but the problem is most antennas that are in readers and phones are flat, and the type of coupling that happens between them is not very good. So we decided to take a look at a flat architecture tag. So this is where we had to get into polymer research, because the typical technology of decades ago, where pets were getting these things in glass tube, isn't going to work for us anymore. So we wanted to start innovating. So our first attempt failed. That's a tag that was here in my right hand and this finger, and that was there for about 2 months, and then it ended up failing. So we did some analysis on it and ended up innovating, kind of iterating through. This is the second generation tag, and so the idea was to put this into my left hand, and it's actually been installed. So that just takes a small scalpel cut and some sutures, and you're good to go. So through all this popularity, and you'll have to forgive me, I've contracted a little throat problem, but through all this popularity, the different partnerships and people that we're talking to has grown, and one of those partners is Fidesmo. So Fidesmo makes a card that has basically a platform on it that you can load applications, and those applications can be for cryptography or for ticketing or transit or any of those things. We really liked this idea, so we said, hey, can we put that card into an implant form factor? Can we get something like that with advanced cryptography and advanced like micro application support into an implant? And I'm happy to say that we were able to do that. This is the Yuki. The idea is that it's an implantable NFC platform for security, payment, and cryptography applications. That's my dirty secret that I was talking about. I have a prototype in my arm that we can show off afterward. But the idea fundamentally is to take and merge your digital identity with your biological identity. It's something that is today very loosely coupled. You have your digital identity, which is protected by passwords and account names and things like this. But the problem with that is the accounts are easily compromised, and your identity really truly rests with the account holder, not with you. So for example, if somebody were to get into your Facebook account, send a message to somebody, that person's going to assume that it's you, and Facebook owns your identity in that sense. The same thing is true of a bank. So you log into your banking system, you want that you can merge biology with your identity online, is that the bank could not transfer money unless you signed that transaction. So the bank would create the transaction, give it to you, and you would actually authorize and sign it cryptographically. Send it back to the bank. That bank could then transfer the funds, put the want or need that coding. Because we don't have the coding, it's very easy to remove. You simply go to the doctor, any general practice doctor, and you put a glove on, and you poke your hand here, and you poke here, and it basically kicks the end up, and they just make a small incision, comes out. I've had 3 or 4 in and out. This is my project hand, so it's very easy.
Are there any disadvantages? For example, as a customers, they can say, oh, that's not allowed to bring in our country.
Sorry?
So, ich sage das mal auf Deutsch. Kann es irgendwelche Probleme geben am Zoll?
Are there any problems with customs?
So this is, it might be a little touchy. There's no problems with airports. It's MRI compatible, and customs doesn't know it's there unless you declare it. And this is where it gets interesting, because with the YuKey, where you're generating cryptography keys, you can protect your email or correspondence or data with cryptography, and in some jurisdictions you might be required to give up that security information. But if it's here, it's essentially covert, so they wouldn't know about it. And so that brings up questions of like personal data sovereignty, particularly in the EU, where personal identification and privacy is merged very tightly with data privacy. So in countries like the US, there's a little less of that. So it's some people are looking at it for being able to have true kind of data protection.
Current customers fly regularly to Israel. It's probably the hardest custom security you can imagine in the world, and they have no problems.
Yeah, and unless they declare it. Otherwise, it's unnoticed.
The magnetic spin tomograph, are there any problems with?
MRT?
No. It's been certified up to 7 Tesla, but it's been tested up to 13. So very, very strong MRT. Any other questions? Yeah.
Would it be possible that some villains will read your microchip without your knowing it, and they copy the information and make a duplicate?
Sure. So when you're talking about like a traditional RFID tag, an attacker is going to set up shop usually in like a public space. Either they want to attack like a contactless payment card, or they want to get into a particular building. And so the scenario is typically that let's say somebody wants to collect credit card data, and so they sit in a train station or somewhere, and they get information from random people coming by. That's okay for them, because you don't have to know, the attacker doesn't have to know the person to use that data. They know that it's credit card payment data, they can go right out and use it and commit fraud. But in a personal use context for, like, say, accessing your home, if an attacker was able to somehow do that, there's no context for the information they've gained, so they're essentially just left with a number, and they don't know what it means or where it's used or how it's used. But in the next generation tags, like the YuKey, it's fully cryptographically protected, so there's no chance of getting any meaningful information from it unless you already have like a PIN code that you can activate the device. But old technology is susceptible to that, but the risk comes down to use case. So if you're an employee at a bank and somebody wants in the bank, and every employee has an old RFID card, access card, then the attacker can stand by the door of the bank. And again, they don't need to know you, they just need to know that any employee going in and out I can grab. So again, YuKey would help with that scenario and be fully secure interaction with the bank door.
Any more questions? I think we are
all right
through.
Maybe we're going to get to stab.
You want to see now a live installation? Or you have a question?
I would like to have the access to my house.
Oh.
Why this microchip thing is better than fingerprint identification?
Sure. So fingerprints are not really secure. They're left everywhere and even left on the sensor of the door. It's been shown time and time again that going up to even the sensor where you place your fingerprint, your fingerprints left an impression on the sensor. So there's been multiple attacks made where, again, they don't need to know you or access. They just place material, like even a saline bag, over the sensor, and it uses the old impression of the fingerprint and allows access. The other thing is that fingerprint readers are expensive and they're fuzzy. They're not very accurate. And if you place it outdoors for like external door access, it's very easily damaged. So it's not a very robust technology, in my opinion. Okay. I think we had somebody who was going to get, yes, that's right.
So now the bloody part starts. You want to see that?
Do we have a scissors or do I? Yeah, okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, come on up.
So we had a medical check beforehand, so that's everything is fine with him.
Let's go ahead and
We're not doing implants under 18th or people who have problems with blood clotting or something like this.
You're doing your right hand.
So he's checked, he's certified,
right
and we're going to show now online basically how we actually set this syringe and turn him into a cyborg.
Go ahead and move your chair over this way. Perfect. All right. Go ahead and put your hands in your lap.
So now you need to decide which hand do you want to use. Do you want to use your left or your right hand for this? A lot of people have 2 implants, 3 implants. Yesterday we had a customer, he had 4 implants. So yeah, you can see that.
Okay. Go ahead and move your hands to your lap.
So the most important part now, of course, is sterility. So that's why now it takes a little while until the actual syringe is getting in there to make everything sterile. And yeah, you can, it takes like 3, 4, 5 more minutes until we are at that stage where the needle gets in.
Okay, go ahead and put your hand right there.
So now the cloth underneath is sterile. And so we are now, Amal is going to look now for a good spot. She's taking out all the equipment that he needs. Amal, how many have you done so far?
I think probably close to 400.
400, so he knows what he's doing. We had customers, always comes the question, is it really painful? Yesterday we had customers saying yes, oh, I hope so. And then they ask for, can you do it really slowly? But we also have customers who say, oh, that's it, I didn't feel anything. Or sometimes they go, ouch. But usually what burns a little bit afterwards is a disinfection. That's all. An earring, I was told, is worse because you go in and you go out there. And this one is just a syringe and just a needle. So now he's sort of making everything sterile. And then it needs to dry a little bit, otherwise it's too slippy to grab the skin in a good way. Okay, when it's now dry, Amal is now testing where the bones to get a good parallel shot in it. And it's not as bad as it looks, believe me. As long as the needle is still covered with plastic, you know, there's no action. So now it's drying off the fluid. It's now looking for the right spot.
Ready?
Okay. When you get it, you want to breathe in, and when you breathe out and relax, you get it in. So you don't really feel it. So now it's the moment of truth. That's it. Now it's a little bit. Every person, it's a bit different. Some don't bleed at all, others a little bit more, but that's just now a matter of personal body. I don't know. That's it. Now he's a cyborg already. He's permanently wearing electronics basically in his body.
It didn't really
How was
hurt
it?
that much. It's like a normal syringe or getting your blood out.
Did you look when he did it?
No, I never look.
Yeah, he told us before he's like a bit of skeptical with needles, but it was okay.
Yeah.
And now the next 2-3 hours, he should really press hard on it, so it really stops. He should not wash his hands for the next 1 day or something. Yeah. Don't do the dishes tonight, you know, with your hand in the old dishwash water. And be a little bit careful for the next 2 weeks. Don't do, you know, like a kickbox match tomorrow, or don't play volleyball. But after 2 weeks, it's like the swelling is out, and then it's fine. And after like a couple of months, you don't feel it anymore at all. Well done, guys.
Cool.
Amal, how was it?
It was fine. I mean, everybody's different, so he's going to have a little bit of a bruise, but it'll go away in a couple days.
Yes, before you did it to Colin and Jonathan, they work with me, and they didn't bleed at all. So I'm a bit skeptical that they're human. So now I could prove with the camera that that I did bleed.
Yeah. So I'm going to hold it a bit longer on your hand. Yeah.
Yeah, he is bleeding now a little bit, but that's just a matter of minutes. Then that's over. And then he gets a good plaster, and that's it. Then he is a cyborg.
Yeah, it would have been boring without blood.
Anyone who wants to see this more closely, we do this in our booth here in the loft area. Later on, we have a happy hour where a customer can get shipped. And I think for the next, at 4 o'clock, I think we have already like 12 people lined up. It's absolutely phenomenal what we see here at CeBIT, how we...
See this here? It's a little bit of...
the request is just phenomenal. I mean, we thought we do 2-3 per day. Yeah. I think in average we have like 20 now. It's a big interest. Any more questions to the guys upstairs or in general? Are you all speechless in all? Okay, well done. Bit of cleaning.
Yeah, I'm really...
You have the other plaster as well?
No, it's not. We'll go over to the booth and get them.
Okay, you get to the booth and you get another one. Okay.
I'm really looking forward to use it like for opening doors and stuff like that.
For identification, right? Or to have your business card on it?
Just press on it. Cool. And we'll go get another Band-Aid over there.
My question would be, is like, what kind of information do people normally, like most of the people, have on the chip?
It's a good question. It's like the question we get like every minute, basically. There are two parts in the chip. The one is the RFID part with a serial number, and the other one is the NFC part. So if you have like a normal, a normal smartphone, you have like apps on there. They are like free. And so when it comes to how did you get the information on it, you can just say, okay, I want my business card on it. You click business card, put your details on it, put it to your hand and say write, and then it's on. Other things is your social media profiles. A lot of stuff you can do with your phone actually, or you have for fitness gym access. We have clients starting their motorcycle or access to the car, what we saw in the video. I personally have my business card on my hand. and have access to my house. I don't need keys anymore. So it's very individual what you do actually with it.
What's the weirdest kind of information you've heard of that people store on the NFC?
Good question. Like what, for instance? I don't know.
I think starting your motorcycle is actually a pretty fun thing to have, right?
Well, what I heard, maybe Amal, you would know better. I heard in America there are weapons that you can only fire when you have your RFID reader to it. I heard about that. Huh? It's a wristband, but boring. Okay.
Well, thank you very much, guys. That was even more fun than having Pepper around, because Pepper would show no blood. Thank you very much. That was really great. Do you maybe the technique guys want to remove the table and chairs? So who of you would actually now be just thinking about trying the RFID NFC chip thing? Raise your hand. So that's maybe not even 10%. So you think is it because of those who wouldn't do the chip thingy? Is it because you're afraid of the pain? Raise your hand. Because you don't know what you want to use it for? That's why? Raise your hands. I cannot see the nodding. Yeah, that's why. You don't know what you want to use it for now. Or are you afraid of someone is stealing your information? No. I mean, we know from those movies, right? They kind of take a machete and hack off your hand or something.